PR Connections Radio presents.
Did you know your clothing could help balance your body's pH levels? Our cutting-edge fabric technology naturally promotes optimal pH balance, helping you feel energized, refreshed, and at your best every day. Use promo code PRTalk for more info. Tap the link in the description or contact our experts at 702-445-9488 to learn more.
Hi, welcome to Liberating Menopause. I'm Lisa Vasquez. I'm here to host this episode. I'm so excited because, the conversation we're having today is a big difference in the narrative we've been talking about a lot. I bring up a lot of issues on menopause in the workplace, on women's health issues. I've grown up and seen a lot of difficulties and complex cases that women have gone through. And the initial start of those issues sometimes can happen coming from the workplace over long periods of time, accumulations of repetitious movements or non-movements. So it's important to bring up today's episode where we are discussing the aging process. A lot of women today are getting ready to really step out of their careers and go into their retirement years. And so this issue is so important because we're talking about caregiving. We're talking about receiving caregiving. We're talking about the awareness. What I want to bring is the awareness for the prevention. As women, we work through this life cycle of ours. A lot of women have been more affected in their health after they finish their jobs and run into their retirements and end up more dedicated in healthcare because of all the appointments and everything that women need to attend to help develop a balancing life post working. And so today we're talking issues about, I always bring up true stories of things that I've seen, I've experienced. I want to bring it home for women because these are important issues that affect us all, especially in our health. And the thing about that is, as we're working and going through these years and, sometimes ignoring some of the signals and signs that our body gives us that we're kind of injured and we just keep on going. I have an example that I'll bring up in a moment, but it's all about when we can actually stop and recognize that we're having some type of issues that need some type of attention. It's very important to recognize this in your health today because of where it will lead you, and that is in a loss of independence. And this is the conversation today because having freedom in so many different ways, but in our health is so important. Things that I have seen, I bring to you because they're not, this conversation I don't hear a lot about caregiving. There's 34.2 million Americans in the past 12 months who've actually been giving caregiving and have been unpaid because a lot of caregivers don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. Their family members, they just become part of the process. Kind of more like a drafting because we never know who this is going to affect. A lot of times these caregivers can be at the age of 49 years old. And at that age, right, when they're getting ready to prepare to do something else different in life, they're suddenly struck by having to take care of somebody in their family or to give care for some type of service, whether it's their children. There's just a lot of issues. But my concern is about the person, the woman herself. When I doing my mammogram exams and different women that I've been able to come across and see, I would have a lot of people who would come in that were guided in by a caregiver, right? So there's companies that initiate and have a support where they bring you into coming to your appointments, they pick you up, they bring you in, they take care of you. But then there's the other sides of things where it's not always that easy to take care of people when they're older, they're hurting, they're confused, they're very lost in this complexity because they've lost their freedom. They have to rely on somebody to take care of them now. And a lot of times that could be a stranger who's assisting them, and they're not really responding as well. A lot of times, sometimes that caregiver doesn't have the approach that really is as nourishing as, say, for instance, that woman needs. So I've seen a lot of damage on that side of things. And the painful part for me was seeing the woman who would walk into my room and her caregiver would give her to me and leave her with me. And sometimes I would have to ask the caregiver to stay with me to assist me because this woman's going to need a little bit more support than what I can actually do with her alone. And sometimes they're not really happy with that, but they do. They stay and they help me. But it's the after effects. It's the fear that I see in women's faces sometimes when they come in, when they're brought in. I mean, they could be staying in a home where they're getting cared for, and now they've been waking up. They come for their mammogram appointment they didn't even know they were having, and now they're going to go through this exam, and of course it's uncomfortable. They're kind of fighting it off because they don't really want to be put into a compression paddle, and nobody really does, but it's part of the process. So there's some types of struggles there. And it's just more fear because we have to get the exam process. We have to get the women to cooperate and go through the exam so we can get those images and, see what's happening in her health, in her self-care for her breast health. But it could be a struggle. And then after that, when the woman leaves, it's always kind of sad because you know how hurt she felt, how sad she was just coming in, and now she's leaving, and she's leaving in this care. And sometimes, honestly, there was fearful looks in their faces, and there's nothing that can be done about that because this is their process. This is what they have to go through. And sometimes you just wish you could help everybody, but that's not the case. And then you have the workers, the people who are actually working and have these interruptions in life because the damage that's taking place in their own bodies. So I was giving an example about this one woman that worked in the radiology department, and she was close to like 50, 52, something like that. And she was overweight, so she was in the obesity diagnosis of being in obese capacity. So the heavy weight with the knee problems and the pressure, she had to do a lot of walking. I mean, greeting the patients, walking them in. And as time went on, the limp started to increase, started leaning more toward one side than the other. And finally, when she had time to go get this examined, she found out that she's going to need knee surgery. Well, that wasn't just the hardest part about hearing the conversation. The hardest part was that they told her that she was going to have to lose weight first. And then with all this news that she's been given, a lot of times when a lot of emotional eating takes place, or for whatever reasons, people are led into this lane from nourishing themselves, over nourishing. It's a really hard place to be when somebody tells you now, to proceed on and to help you get help, this is what you're going to have to do. And she's already in pain. She has to work. She's a single woman, no family members. One family member lived far away, so they weren't really there to assist. So she's looking at the circumstances that surround this whole news received at that moment and thinking, and all these flashes of how she's going to do this. The fact that if she takes off of work, jobs are being held as a marker, but they're not being supported with financial stability. Because in some, there's just certain programs that you can get into where they'll save your job, but it doesn't always give you all the financial support you're going to need for the 6 to 8 weeks that you'll be off. So all these things accumulated in her vision of how this was going to take place. And so with all those challenges, it was just easier for her not to do anything and continue doing what she's doing. And as you grow up watching things like this, and know that, the circumstances have led to this, and she has to just keep pushing through. And this is how I know that women just keep pushing through. They just keep going through. I'm sorry, my lipstick's a little bad over there. By doing all this, she's just pushing through. And I know that this takes place in a lot of different situations because women are most of the times the breadwinner. A lot of single moms, a lot of help that they don't have supporting them. It's just a nonstop issue. And this situation isn't being under a caregiver. This is a concern that covers everyone. It's not really just designated to just certain people. I mean, everybody has a health story, and at some time or another needed help for something. So family members who are often given this job to support and become caregivers are doing that. And there's a lot of, they can't work because they have to make a decision. This person in their family needs help. What are they going to do? They're going to have to change their lifestyle. They might have to step down from work because that's not going to be a possibility if this person needs 8-hour care or, longer. They have to be there to support this person that they're taking care of. And it really complicates the workplace. It really complicates the woman's life. And anybody, actually, family member that's in the family that has to take this change and support everyone in the family also. So there's so much that goes into this. So my conversation is about the awareness, about, as I once said in one of my past issues, there's only like 3% that really act with people that actually follow guidelines and kind of keep their life in balance. And other percentages are in all these different other situations of either being diabetic, having cardiovascular health problems, high blood pressure. There's all kinds of categories, and there's so many people that are in each one of these categories. And we need to try to change that, especially in the workplace, because now that we know that women become more injured, more than what a male would. And as I told you, my best example is carpal tunnel being 3 times more than what a male receives on that issue. We're doing many things on keyboards and, just losing function with your hands and wrists. There's mammographers that I had worked with who eventually lost functions from their carpal tunnel, and then became with frozen shoulder. So this took down another one of their arms that, was very functional, and now they're not. When I seen all these things as I walked through this medical career, and this is how I did my best to keep prevention, to keep awareness, to make sure that I'm providing my body everything that it needs as far as the movement, as far as getting up, making sure that I can still move. I mean, it's not always easy as we mature and come into these more peaceful years of aging. But it's important. It's so important to get up, keep the body moving, especially when you're working all the time. When you're working all the time, you're so tired, and people don't want to stop and work out. They don't want to go take that walk. I mean, all these things that are so small but can really build into something as far as bringing you a healthier life as you walk toward those golden years that you want to really develop and have fun with, instead of have a breakdown where you're given your freedom over to somebody who has to take care of you. I bring this to you because without having that vision, these conversations only come up unless you really knew somebody, or you hear, especially in these mature ages when our parents need help. So this October, my father would have been 100. He passed away at 98. And lucky for my family, my mother and father, they had both once told us when I was young, really young, that don't ever worry about us. You just take care of yourselves, make sure you're okay, and we'll take care of ourselves, because they wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be providing health care to them. So get caregiving. You're young, and this is like in the 70s when I'm hearing this. So you're not seeing any thing of what they're talking about until the day comes and now you see, well, again, my family was pretty blessed with that helping. My father and mother both took care of themselves all the way down. They were very independent, and they really showed me the roads to walk that way, besides the women that I worked with in the healthcare. But nobody stops to say things like that anymore. And we all just fall apart into somebody's hands who have to take care of us, and we have no choice but to go with that. And it does become very complicated, and it can be devastating and depressing, and it can be painful too to the family members, because they want to go out, they want to go do things, but they owe themselves to whatever they're dedicated to take care of whoever they're taking care of. So there's a lot of people that have effects and go through a lot of changes with this. This subject, again, is so important because we have such a shortage on caregivers. And for caregivers in the family, there's certain rules to be able to get paid for that. So really having that kind of structure and understanding where those roads lead, so that at least some kind of finances can be brought in, so that you don't have to step down and go into a poverty lane to be able to help and secure the caregiving that you're providing to somebody. There's just different lanes of preparedness and awareness, and really it's just the wake-up call of knowing that. And it doesn't even have to be that you're broken down, because these things can just happen. I mean, we could just fall, we can just trip, things can just happen accidentally. But it's, what do we have in place to take care of these things? When I discuss this, it's because you want to be financially planning, and not just so much for that retirement, but also to think about what would happen if something did happen to you and you are without any family members. Who would you call on? Who would you leave this responsibility up to? And how would you feel knowing that you're going to be under somebody else's care? So having all these small things in place is so important, especially because as we develop and go through the workplace years, and then you find out during that time, now you have added duties in the morning because of what you have to prepare for. If it's a family member, and you have to make sure that, who's ever coming over to help them is in place. And what happens if they're sick that day, they can't come. That means you'll have to cover, and that means you'll have to call in from work, or you might have to just step down from work altogether. So being prepared and bringing this conversation up is so important, outside of the fact that, sometimes this can be so complicated because some family members that come into this aren't fully loaded with everything that they need to do to provide for you. So then they're lost and alone, because there's not like a big hotline for caregivers where they can really discuss all these struggles that they're going through, because everybody's so unique and they feel so alone, like they're just alone in this whole idea. And nobody's really alone. It's just the community that we need to build around us to bring up how our future would look if things did not go in the way that, we all want to walk in that healthy way and be there and be alive and be vibrant and have vitality and have energy and enjoy those years. But then there's those days that if that doesn't turn out that way, then what else would be taking place? How would this be planned out? Who is going to be there to take care of you? That is the whole idea about, because aging is inevitable. And as I said, it's not about how many years that we live, it's that quality of life that we're going to live in that, by being proactive and planning and preparing for these things. But most importantly is really that self-care, the exercise, the nourishment to keep the body strong and functioning, to keep the brain clear by getting your sleep. All these things are so important. You'll hear this forever because these are the bases, and these are so many things that are being ignored today because technology has kicked in, especially with the fast food cycle and all these things, and everybody wants everything so quick. And if it's going to be that quick, then what is actually taking the time with you, having time with yourself to nourish yourself, because you're eating something fast food, right? You're on the go, you're driving through a drive-through and you're eating as you pull over and hurry up and eat, and now you're on the road again and you're headed out to do something else. And so, when it comes time to eating, that nourishment, that moment, that time that you give the body, you don't want it in a hyperactive state where it has to hurry up. Actually, you didn't even probably chew the food as correctly as you need to be, because that chewing is so important. I mean, that helps the enzymes, that helps everything break down, so that when it really goes down into digestion, it already has been given an upper hand, instead of making the body itself feel all these clumps and have to try to devour all that stuff and break it down for you. So that chewing is so important. That moment of calm and peace while you're eating is so important, because this is your body, this is your nourishment, this is what's going to develop you, energize you, and bring you a better day tomorrow. So these are the important reasons that by really stopping, we're in between those years, because if you grew up with the 70s like I did, and then you come into this whole technology world of computers and all this stuff, you have to find that balance. I mean, because you want to run with everybody and really keep up, but if you can really take it back to the home base, where having dinner at home, having that family moments and community together to discuss this, taking the time to cook, to bring that family together, to know that they're being nourished because you've provided a good meal. I mean, it used to be hard when I had to cook for my husband, and when I didn't have time, and I hate it when I would know what he ate, because every day he'd come home, what do you have for lunch? And I wanted to know. Now it's different. Being home, retired, I know everything that he's eating, and it's better for me, and I feel so much better knowing that, it's being provided and I have the time to do it. And I'm not saying that he ate a lot of junk before, but when you're not there and they're out there and they're in that quick mode, they're just going to reach for anything. So it's always good to know that what you sent your children off to school with, knowing that they had those good protein bars or good protein drink before they left, or whatever it is, that that some of that nourishment was accounted for to build the building blocks of the body, to keep them strong, to keep that cellular health strong, to keep everything glowing, and growing for sure, because we are just like plants. I mean, and you see, if a plant doesn't get its water, you see how it's going to dwindle. You see a plant, if it starts to turn colors, because something's missing. So then you want to go figure it out. Well, with us, we know what we need to do. We know the important factors of sitting outside, recharging our body, taking a moment, having that mental mind moment, which is so important, because so much is happening and it's so loud inside your mind. And that's why so many people really find it hard to sit and meditate. They don't know how to sit there and keep the body quiet. And it is a hard challenge, but that's the whole challenge. And that's the beauty of when you're working your body, when you're getting it to come into that mode, when you concentrate on it and you bring it the silence that it needs. And at a point, you actually start to enjoy it, and you go to look for that corner where you could actually have a sound mind of silence is golden, because it really is. And it's so important in helping us develop everything, because without our minds, that we just get crazy, right? I mean, there's just so much, and we haven't deciphered anything and separated anything. So it's just a whole buildup, and then we go to sleep and it's still going and active, because we haven't put it out. We haven't slowed it down. We haven't calmed it down. So by thinking of all these things, because some injuries don't actually have fingerprints. That's the whole thing. You have to capture it in your own self, knowing what it is you need for yourself. That's what's important. And by knowing that and taking care of yourself today is what's going to prevent that future of holding yourself up, keeping your independence. Because as I said, when I seen these people come into the healthcare system being brought in by, the different communities that support caretaking and, give us caregivers. And again, I did tell you there is a big shortage on that because there's not a big industry where they're just bringing them all in. I mean, a lot of times we fall into these situations and then we need the help and then we go looking for a caregiver. Then you have to figure out who's going to be the best fit for giving that care to whoever the member in your family is. I have another story of a male, and he takes care of his mother. And it's interesting, 5 sisters, and none of them are available. Some of them live in different cities, and the ones that do live in the same city are afraid to get involved because it's so medically she's diabetic, the mother is diabetic, she has high blood pressure, and the other daughters are afraid because they're not medically inclined. So they're afraid to to do the daycare sitting for her. If the son had to go somewhere, they're afraid to take over for a couple of hours because they're afraid that something's going to go wrong while she's in their care, and they don't want that responsibility. And this is why that's so important, that we don't want to that we have to go find education and figure out how to study this class at the moment when this is happening. But by preparing for this is where it's really important to know that, if you do have family members who are aging, or if you are a worker, a woman in the workplace who's having things that eventually are going to need more care when you step out, it's important to have those preparations in place because, again, I told you, it doesn't even have to happen just because the health is declining. It could be sudden, and those are the hardest and scariest ones, when it's a sudden fall or something goes wrong suddenly, and now all of a sudden there you are, you're a part of the family, and everybody gathers together to go support this issue. So there was another really cool girl that I met up with, and it was interesting. I was doing some copying at one of the Office Depot places, and she was doing some copies. And I heard her in a conversation about caregiving, and she's talking to her family members. And I was just so impressed with the conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping. I mean, she was talking loud enough so I could hear it. And I actually had to approach her and ask her. And eventually one day I am going to have her on this podcast because of the support, what they were doing. And some of the family members lived in California, so they were setting up a schedule of everybody who was going to set up the time schedules of when they'll be in town to rotate to go support their mother. I think there was 5 sisters, and just hearing her conversation was just really wild because this has been a subject that's been on my mind for a while, talking about this. And so to hear that, wow, somebody's actually orchestrating, they're organizing, they're getting this all ready. I mean, they're not going to leave their mother alone in the hospital without having somebody there at every moment. And that was the whole plan. And she had it all ready and set. And I was so impressed, like I said, that I actually stopped to talk with her about it. And I invited her. And eventually I will have her come onto the show because those steps, that preparation just made such a difference. And to know how much that mother is being loved, and all her daughters get together to get into this conversation and take shifts and be there, I thought that was just like so glorious. And, I was grateful to hear that. And I was so glad I heard that conversation and so proud. She's a young girl too. I think she was only in her 20s, and I'm not sure how old the other members were, but they were all ready to really give that community support and be there for their mother. And I thought that was really great because, in the hospitals, we're so short staffed sometimes that, nurses don't always have that kind of time to give to the patients like they want to. So having the support of the family members being there, I think is just so brilliant, making sure, that they can be there to assist them if they need to get up to the restroom and do all those things. I mean, it's just so much healthier for the healing, especially because, when you're laying there and you're just kind of in a surrendered mode. I mean, you just surrendered everything and, there's no real glow to get up and go. But when you have that support system that you're excited to see, and who's coming in to help you, and oh, you're so excited. I mean, in my days of radiology, before I specialized in breast cancer, I did portables. Portables is the portable machine you walk around the hospital. So I was a hospital photographer, and I just loved that because it was so much easier for them, for sure. My master at this was the art of leaving the department, capturing that image on a cassette that I had to come back downstairs and develop. And so instead of that bringing and making the patient come down to the department and putting them through all that, I took the department to them. And then, hopefully, I wanted to master the art. So you want to get those one-shot pictures because you don't want to keep coming back, bringing the machine back up to them to repeat it. So you aim for that one shot. And, in radiology, that's really what you should do. But, sometimes there are repeats. But I was like the hospital photographer, and I just loved it. I would walk down those halls with that machine, and it was just so rewarding for me because I got to visit all the different nurses' stations. I got to meet all the nurses. I got to know everything. I mean, there's the ICU, there's the CCU, there's what we call 2 North. I mean, those people were more in a comatose state. But even though they're in a comatose state, they can still hear you. They say that they can still hear you. And, to verify that, they did hear me, because one day I'm walking down the hall with my machine, talking to one of my friends, and I started to laugh. And this man, he just yelled through this crowd. We're in a hallway, big hallway in the hospital. People are going back and forth, doctors walking through. Everybody is in this big hallway. And he just yelled, and I was like, what? And because he was talking to me, and I was like, oh my God. And, like, what did I do? Like, what? And then he told me that he recognized my voice. He was one of those patients that was in that 2 North, what we called, where they were, they would have to really medicate them so that they can heal better by sleeping through it. But he recognized my voice because I'd come in, I'd talk to them, I'd say good morning, and then of course they hear us in conversation talking to the nurses, but he recognized my voice. And that was just so wow to me, to be in this big hallway, and there he is just walking by. I mean, he's leaving the hospital, I guess, or maybe coming in for a checkup, but he recognized the tone of my voice, and he wanted to let me know that he had heard me and thanked me for, I guess, assisting and being there for him, taking those portable x-rays. And it was rewarding because, as I said, they hear you. And so I never denied not talking to them because I really love, what I do. And I really love being there for people and helping. And so that was like the best reward of my day, was to hear, as my little portable hospital photographer days, he really, really brought that sunshine through to make that everyone that I had serviced in that time in Chicago, great big hospital, it was just rewarding. And I just want to leave you with that, because I just want you to be aware. I just want you to think about your future. I just want you to take care of yourself now while you're at work. Be extra cautious with things that you need to do for yourself, depending on what your job is. I mean, if you're sitting down all the time, getting up, really stretching those legs, getting that circulation going. When you get home, doing some type of movements so that you have that circulation going. Not instead of coming back home and then just, again, dropping down onto another couch. You really want to get yourself moving with energy. You really want to have that moment in your mind and meditate and really concentrate on you. That's what's important. And by concentrating on you, having the dreams and visions of what this is going to look like when you leave that job on that last day, by seeing that long tunnel vision and really having a brighter exit, is the beauty of all this. Every day we go to work, and sometimes it's a drag, sometimes it's a bummer, sometimes you have a bad day. And it's all part of being a good day, because everything is done for our own good, right? I mean, if it was a bad day, there's a lot of things you had to learn through it. If you're having a great day, well, then there's just bonuses all over. but really, really thinking about yourself every day when you get up and go to work, knowing that, hey, I had some good sleep, I'm good to go, ready, and again, like I was telling you, getting on that phone first thing in the morning, hearing all these different conversations of, whether it's a negative one, a bad one, somebody's losing weight, somebody just gained weight, whatever. These kind of things can actually catch you off guard and just depress your mind right off the top. So by getting yourself ready for the day and walking through this, and then lighten up that phone to see different conversations. But first of all, build that mind up so that you have the power in your own mindset, so that you're strong for the day and you know that you're nourished from your sleep. And now it's all about what you're going to do today to create that tomorrow. So everyone, have a great day today, and see you on the next episode. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to have a really exciting new guest coming on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this caretaking and what does it do on the other side of things when it has to go into legal things that nobody's prepared for. So again, have a great day. And this is Lisa Vasquez coming to you from Liberating Menopause, PRConnectionsRadio.com. Thank you so much for giving me a voice to speak to the world. Thank you, everyone.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.